Hey everybody, Scott Wilkinson here at CEDIA Expo 2013. I'm talking with Jeff Parkinson, an AVS member known on the forum as BIGmouthinDC, and it's your first trip to CEDIA, isn't it?
It absolutely is, the first trip.
Wow, and so what are your initial impressions?
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming in terms of the amount of information, amount of product that's here related to home theaters, but it's also overwhelming with respect to all of the different dimensions of home electronics.
There's so much more here than speakers and
Right.
projectors and so on. I mean, there's home automation, there is alarm systems, central heating and air conditioning, all kinds of stuff like that. Now, you're not actually a professional installer, I guess, or are you?
I've installed.
You've installed.
And I got paid for it.
And you got paid for it, so I guess you are a professional installer.
But I'm kind of the handyman of home theaters. I can do a little bit of everything. I'm not an expert at anything, but I can do a little bit of everything. And my niche is I really like working with clients who want to get hands-on.
So almost DIY, but with some assistance.
They want to invest their own sweat equity to offset the price of putting a theater in their basement.
There you go. Which you did with Vic Rao in the Home Theater of the Month that's now featured on AVS, what we're calling the Superman Theater or the Fortress of Solitude. Some great pictures of you hanging from the soffits and stuff. You did some good creative photography, documentation of that project.
That was a fun project.
How long did it take?
That was, I think, 7 weeks.
7 weeks? It's less than I thought.
I took a little bit of break in the middle, but I think it was a 7-week trip that I took, and then I had to disappear for a week and come back in the middle. But that was a unique project because Vic's specifications are pretty rigid. I know,
all the curves, for example.
Well, to start with, he wanted to make sure that he didn't shake the neighbor's house.
Right.
Which had been a problem.
Or his bedroom upstairs or wherever where his wife might be sleeping.
He actually said he had a problem shaking the neighbor's walls.
Oh my goodness.
With the JL Lab subwoofer.
Right.
Which he promptly sold and then decided to build a theater, and then he put the orbit shifter into the theater. But he put 3 layers of drywall with green glue for the walls and the ceiling of that theater.
Yeah.
It is a fortress.
Truly a fortress of solitude.
It's a bunker. I think a bomb could go off in Indianapolis and they won't hear it in that basement.
That's incredible. And so you're very active on AVS, which I really appreciate.
Too much.
Spend too much time. Well, you're a retired mechanical engineer, right?
I have a couple degrees in engineering, and I worked in the performance improvement, job re-engineering in the healthcare industry.
Oh.
Worked as a consultant, so I didn't apply my mechanical engineering knowledge except on the weekends. I think I watched every episode of This Old House. And really decided to go out and get my toolkit and see what I could do with the various homes that I've owned, and I started building speakers.
Oh, so you're a DIYer.
You're right.
Okay.
I think my first speaker set was a takeoff of the Bose 901s with the 9 speakers reflecting off the back walls.
No kidding.
And I think that's when I started. And
wow. I did one speaker project myself, car speakers, where I took one of those drivers. They were from a company called CTS, I believe. And I built a box around 2 of them, and I put them in my car. And it sounded pretty good. Yeah. But you actually went farther. You actually built sort of a 901-like structure.
It was a clone.
Yeah.
It didn't sound as good. It didn't have the crossover capability that you got with that speaker system. But I bought an equalizer, and I used it for a while. And I did another project, and then another project, and then another project. And
so in your own home theater, do you have self-built speakers all around?
Right. I have what's called the 4-Pi speaker designed by Wayne Parnham. And it's a horn woofer, 2-way. And it's got pretty good directivity in terms of spreading the sound around the space. And I like them.
What about sub?
Currently using a Parts Express, Titanic in a box speaker.
So a build it yourself, a kit kind of thing.
But I have in the closet some components for my next subwoofer project, which shall be maybe 8 15-inch drivers. I'm going to give Papalock a run for his money.
Watch out, Papalock.
I'll have him over, and we'll see who can shake the most pant legs.
Oh man. And what about the display? What do you got in your display?
I have a planar 8150, which is now the Runco LS5, with a
nice projector.
Yeah, I'm a DLP fan. I like the sharpness and the black levels of a DLP.
Is that a 3-chip?
It's only one.
One chip. Do you suffer much from the rainbow artifact problem?
I do not.
Okay, I know some people who do and some who don't.
I've heard that,
yeah.
and I think the speed of the wheel is fast enough to minimize that effect. I also have an anamorphic lens, the Panamorph 480 in front of it. And
right. Fixed, or is it on a motorized sled?
It's on a It's on a
manual. You go up there and you put it in place or put it out of place.
I find it hard to justify the cost for the motorized.
Those motorized mounts are expensive.
When I said I can go like this.
I understand. I've thought the same thing myself.
So that's what I did, and it's on a SMX acoustically transparent screen. And
so the speakers are behind it?
Yeah, the speakers are outside.
Is that a woven screen or perforated?
It's a woven.
I tend to prefer woven screens myself. For one thing, they tend to introduce fewer acoustic anomalies than perforated. Have you found that to be true, or have you not spent much time with this?
I've done a little bit of measurement, and I think it introduces the minimum amount of attenuation at the higher frequencies, and
right.
you can equalize that back. In Popolok's thread, there was he did some measurements without a screen in place, with the subwoofers turned off, I think maybe, and then he put the screen up and did the measurement, and there was a slight reduction at the higher frequencies.
Right.
Then he hit his equalizer, and he returned it to the identical curve, which is a pretty strong testimonial for the fact that woven screens can work.
Yes.
With a little bit of equalization at the high end.
Yep, exactly right. So you've been overwhelmed here at CEDIA, and rightly so. Have you ever been to CES?
I have not.
Talk about overwhelm. If you ever get a chance to go there, it's at least 10 times this size.
So this is a warm-up?
This is a warm-up.
Right.
This is a warm-up for CES.
All right.
And we will be there. If you ever get a chance to go, it's worth going. There's so much there that's not important to us as home theater guys, but there's so much there that is, that you'll spend your whole time there and you won't see everything by far. So I'm just giving you fair warning.
What month is that this year?
January. It's always in January. The first week in
is
January.
It Vegas?
Vegas.
Yeah.
The whole town sells out. Anyway, I did want to get your sense of what have you seen at this show at CEDIA, that has impressed you in particular.
Well, I think I spent some time looking at projectors.
Sure.
And I looked at the new Sony 500,
600. Yeah, the 500's European version.
Yeah, the 600, and that was impressive.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And the fact that you get the little hockey puck,
the hat box
media player, and that you'll be able to download true 4K material.
True 4K material.
It's got a lot of upward potential for the future, and so that's kind of an interesting entry into the 4K market for somebody who wants to start dabbling with it.
And it's $15,000, which ain't chicken feed, but it's not, in the stratosphere either.
10 years ago,
yeah,
most projectors were $15,000.
Exactly.
So, it's a lot of money, but how much you spend on your car?
Right.
And what are you going to enjoy more, your car or your theater?
I know the answer for me. And I even live in LA, but I don't really commute.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
And then I also went over to JVC.
Right.
And their new eShift.
Their new eShift, their ability to accept 4K signals.
Right.
They're still not really. They're showing pseudo 4K. I call it pseudo 4K.
Right.
What'd you think of that?
I liked it.
Yeah.
And I think what's impressive is you can walk right up to the screen, and you can be this far away, and you cannot see the pixel on the screen. It's blended together so finely that
they do a good job. I'll admit that.
The image looks great, and it had good brightness, good contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. They're known for their contrast,
and that's at a lesser price point than the Sony.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see the Epsons?
I went by the booth. Didn't spend a lot of time looking at the projectors.
I recommend you go see the 6030. That's their flagship line. It's 1080p. It's in the floor level. They also have something upstairs, the 4030 doing 3D. 4030 is much less expensive, but the 6030 is only $3,500, and they're doing it with a anamorphic lens on a 235 screen, and I thought it looked really good. So if you get a chance, you got a few hours left. We're getting towards the end here. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else of note that you can think of?
There was one thing that really caught my eye.
Yeah?
I'll probably never use it. I'll probably never see it in person.
What's that?
It was the outdoor LED panel array designed by the Porsche Design Group. Imagine a hole in your yard
Yeah.
with kind of a manhole cover.
Yeah.
It opens up and like a missile, it rises out of the
that
ground.
gigantic screen?
And then it opens like a fan.
Yes.
And it's
or like a solar panel on a spaceship.
Exactly. And LED panels.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. From Seed. We saw that, at least a video of it, in New York a couple months ago.
Right.
They don't actually have it operating here, do they?
No. They just have a video of it.
A video of it, yeah. That is fascinating.
Yeah, that is something I'd love to see in person someplace.
Yeah. That's if you have more money than God, though.
I don't have any clients that fall into that category.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for talking with us. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet.